Okay, now I welcome you to the second section of this video, which we're going to be talking about picturing concert pitch. And as I said in the first part of the video, 'cause I'm just dividing them up into three separate parts to make them shorter. As I said in the first video, I've been using sheet music and musical terms to try to describe the difference between temperament and concert pitch and how you can make changes. And now I'm using pictures and other things to help the non-musicians or the musicians who don't read music are still learning to understand how this works. The aficionado, the person who just likes to read and hear about music, because you get all this weird stuff that's coming, and what creates a desire to make these videos are questions that come to me and links that people send to me. And I'm like, okay, I need to answer these questions. And I'm realizing, having been a classical musician my entire life, sometimes we forget that we need to make things as simple as possible for the general population to understand. So I'm hoping that these videos are doing that for anyone is just learning about the theoretical parts of music that can be kind of nerdy at times. Anyway, without further ado, and hopefully the kitten, he's out playing with a toy, dragging it all over the house. So I hope to not be disturbed by him this time. Anyway, we shall share screen. It's a very good thing to do. And slide presentation as we pull back the, alrighty, I need to pull my picture up here. Okay, let's go on. Picturing concert pitch. So there's a picture of a lovely piano with its fall board off of it. Concert pitch, it sets all notes in the scale. It sets how they're tuned, okay? And it works with all temperaments. It doesn't matter what temperament you choose, you're going to still have to have a concert pitch. And so it tunes all notes from one note, which is where you get A440, A432, A415. And we do know that concert pitch varied historically because we have tuning forks, we have instruments in museums all over the place that show us what the concert pitches were and the temperaments, because we talked about that one in the last one. But we know that the concert pitch was standardized in 1939. It's the worldwide group that gets together and sets standardization. And we'll explain why they did that. Oops, I have to move my picture again. Maybe I'll move it down here. Okay, concert pitch is how the overall scale would sound on, and something, oops. I didn't mean to hit that. Anyway, you start with one note and tune all the other notes from the one note throughout all the octaves of the piano. Now, if you are playing guitar or whatever, you just tune it that way and it automatically tunes everything. But piano tuners actually have to go in and tune every note on the piano. Here's the history of concert pitch. A440 is the modern standard, which we set in 1939. The standard was set in 39 so musicians across the world could work together. Otherwise, you owned about 5 different instruments and would have to use those instruments if you traveled. That's wind instruments, especially, because people used harpsichords at that time or the early forte piano, and they tuned their own instruments, which was a pain in the keister. Prior to 1939, countries around the world had different concert pitches. Concert pitch was often set with tuning forks, a town bell, or whatever else held a constant pitch. And it would vary from town to town. Different musicians, towns, and regions had preferences and were adept at tuning their own instruments, even keyboards, when they traveled. There is no credible evidence that any conspiracy exists to standardize concert pitch in A440. This is the question I get asked all of the time. Look in the museums, look in the early writings, you look at all of the stuff, even if you go back. I mean, I have a video in here, The Ancient Bells of Zing, and I have a blog post about it. Even this was 500 years before, I mean, it was around the time of Pythagoras. And they were tuning close to what we're tuning now. So what can I say? Anyway, how does concert pitch work? Temperament is you decide what temperament you want, such as equal temperament, just, mean tone, Pythagorean, whatever. Then you choose a tuning note. So the concert pitch is the tuning note, and all the other notes are tuned to that. So you choose the A above middle C, or do you want to choose to a C? Because a lot of times people will tune to middle C or even the C below. Again, if you go back to ancient times, it was whatever the town bell was or whatever instrument they had, that was their concert pitch, and we just never knew where it was. So you set the concert pitch. The tuning note sets the concert pitch for the entire instrument. On a piano, start with a concert pitch such as A440, A432, C256, etc. Then from that one note, all piano tuners, and they have done this all the way back in ancient times. We have an ancient Sumerian tablet that shows that they tuned the old lyres in fourths and fifths. So you tune until you have at least one note in every, one note within an octave. Usually it takes 2 octaves if you're going a fifth up, a fifth up, a fourth down, a fourth down, a fifth up, and eventually you get all the notes. Then you tune all the other octaves from those original notes you've tuned. That's how piano tuners do it. And I believe that's how harpists do it, as well as the old lyre players in the ancient times. So concert pitch is like a font family. As you read this, you're going to notice that all the letters are similar. I'm not changing font for every letter. We call that a font family. And in this case, it's Universe Light. This whole presentation is done in Universe Light, other than when I've changed it. Every letter should have the same look, just like all notes in every octave should sound harmonious on an instrument. I mean, if I change the fonts in here, it wouldn't be a harmonious look. But if you're using different concert pitches and different temperaments in a scale, it's not going to sound harmonious. So the whole point is harmonious. Okay, so temperament, just as a refresher, it adjusts the distance between notes. And the distance between notes is also called an interval, like a minor second, major third, minor third, perfect fourth. Those are intervals. The modern standard is equal temperament, which is ET. Before ET was standardized, most instruments were in other temperaments, and there's a variety. And they had forms of equal temperament that were close, but you couldn't make it exact until we had a way to measure it in the 1800s. Concert pitch sets the overall tuning of an instrument between all of the octaves, and the tuning process always begins with one note, the concert pitch. From one note, all other notes are tuned. But first, if you're not using equal temperament, what temperament, keyboards only, do you wish to use? The two have to work together. So now this is where we get to the pictures, which is the fun part. Naming a font family is like naming a concert pitch. Name the font family you like. You name the font family like you name the concert pitch, A440, A432. So this is Universe Light font family. This is the Aharoni, don't know if I said that right, font family. Notice how all of the letters have a similar look. This is the Cavallini font family. Again, they all have a similar look. This is the Nordique inline font family. And this is the Sego UI black font family. They all have a different look. So if you compare those to concert pitches, one might be the Universe Light concert pitch, another might be the Aharoni concert pitch, etc. I'm just using that to give pictures. So let's pretend for a moment that, this Universe Light looks pretty normal to what we're using. So let's call that A440 because it's what we're used to looking at letters that are very clean like this. They're very symmetrical. Or we could call our Aharoni, that's probably it, Aharoni font family, the A440 concert pitch, which we're just arbitrarily picking it so that you see that all of the fonts within that family look the same, just like all of the pitches within the A440 concert pitch are going to sound harmonious. Maybe you're more Baroque and could call the Cavallini font family the A432 concert pitch. Or you could use the Trade Gothic font family and call it the 415 concert pitch, which would have been the early Baroque. They got down as far as 415. Or if you want to be more futuristic, Sego UI Black font family could be the A448 concert pitch, which is much higher. So this is just showing with font families, you got to have a cohesive and harmonious look. With concert pitch families, they have to have a cohesive sound. That's why I'm comparing them. So here's some important points. Both concert pitch and this thing right here is in my way. There we go. Both concert pitch and temperament are important when it comes to tuning a scale and adjusting notes. You need both if you're not using the modern standard. If you want to change, you have to consider both, which we'll do that in the next video. There's another one coming up here somewhere. I think. Oh, there we go. The modern standard is ET, again, equal temperament. So unless you have an electronic keyboard that can change temperament, you get to use ET, equal temperament. All fretted instruments can only play an ET unless you've got a Baroque instrument, like a Baroque lute. Wind and string instruments can adjust temperament by moving fingers, changing fingerings. String instruments, they just slide their finger up and down the fingerboard. And wind instrument players, we change pitch using our oral cavity. We have a silly kitten over here. All string instruments can play in any concert pitch. However, most instruments were built to play in or near the concert pitch of the time period. And I've said this before, and I will say it again. So many people are trying to figure out why Stradivarius violins, they can't remake them. Well, they were not made to play in A440. They were made to play in other concert pitches. So I would be curious that if they put strings that were similar to the original strings, which were gut strings, back on those instruments, and then tune them to whatever region they came from, which they could figure that out, they would be able to figure out how to make the Stradivarius instruments the same. Anyway, we'll leave that. It's not a wise idea to ask a piano tuner to tune your piano to A444. Why? Because you have to consider string tension. There's a sweet spot in string tension, and all modern pianos are made to play in A440. And they use the appropriate strings to get the right tension for it to work in that concert pitch. Any piano can tune down, especially older pianos, easier than tuning up, but you still need to be careful. All right, so that ends this one before we go into the next video, which I show you how to make changes if you choose that you still want to do that. So first of all, subscribe to this channel. Look for healing music on this channel under, I think I have some under sound baths and another playlist that is just healing music. And you can just rotate it because I took all the ads off. Follow me on Instagram, X, and Facebook. And you can purchase music, courses, teachings, personal songs, sound baths, and much more on the Healing Frequencies Music website. And all those links are below. So we shall see you. Oh, let me stop sharing the screen. First of all, I'm going to escape this thing and we're going to stop sharing. Okay, so we'll continue on with part 3 in the next video or the next section because I'm just dividing the video into 3 sections. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments below. And I always check my comments and do answer them. All right, thank you.